how can we learn to accept the facts about each other's religion? First of all, how can we find the facts? Because there's a lot of misinformation. And then how can we learn to accept it? When will we be able to realize that there is a problem and we accept it, and let's fix it?
How does a person of a certain religion, fix the perceptions of its religion or of its own?
Exactly.
No, exactly. Part of it is, I think specifically with the Christians, perspective right now is, you have a plurality of different, Christian, perspectives, and the dominant one now is an evangelical Christian, group that is very, as we've talked about before, very black and white. I hate to put it in, these different propaganda terms that have been put politically is, either, it's somewhat of an either or.
Either you're in or you're out.
You're either in or you're out. That's part of their evangelical, part of the evangelical nature is the fact that that's why you're trying to save people.
But that's what President Bush asked President Musharraf. Either you're in the war of terror or out of the war of terror.
Exactly.
He's not exactly looking to dialogue with President Musharraf.
No, not at all. Not at all. And that's a definite, perceptive problem. And part of it is this, is understanding that it isn't just a simple understanding that there is something wrong. And we talked about illiteracy of one's own religion and one of others. I think of my own family in terms of their lack of any notions or not acceptance, but their awareness of other religion, other cultures, because they're in a very Christian society. They've barely met a Muslim or a Hindu or even a Jew within their own neighborhood or in their own community. And they ask me, why are you studying, Islam? And they're like, aren't those the people that, the president calls Islamo-fascists or, and these other things? And I talk about them, no. These are the commonalities between, a Christian and a Muslim or Judaism and how they have these commonalities. And these are the differences, but they're really not that different when you think of them in terms of faiths. We were talking in our last course about, what a faith is, and then somewhat within reality and political terms, again, we were going to our point before of how human beings have what they've turned their faith into. And understanding, the separation between those two are needed with, understanding one's own religion and understanding others. Who's truly representing, the religion. And I think that separation and that understanding within one's own religion, is just as important than even before you attempt to analyze someone else's.
If I could just add, I think that this might be the case in each religion, and this is something that I talked about in synagogue, or I discussed in synagogue yesterday, was the notion of before you go out to seek understanding or knowledge about another religion, you have to look inside and understand and seek knowledge about your own self and develop compassion for your own self. And until you have compassion for your own self and you can follow the morals that you would want others to follow on yourself, then you're not able to really listen to other human beings. You're not able to really talk. And so I think one of the things we can do to get the facts is to take a step back from even that and just look within ourselves, be comfortable with our own identity, understand what is our own identity, and be comfortable with the notion of maybe a fluid identity as well, that it can mold and grow based on our contact with other people, and then go out and seek knowledge and seek experience. But I wonder if people are really applying the value of introspection that each of our religions preaches.
Fantastic. Clark, do you think there's a future? Come on. It's a big question.
I think, and this is something that came up in my church service this weekend too, was the idea of hope. And if people have hope rather than pessimism or optimism for themselves, but hope for good for everyone, there's definitely a future. And I don't see it happening any other way. I think there has to be a future.
But how is the question?
I personally think that my parents' generation, the generation before us, and I guess my grandparents' generation, that generation before them, they really messed up the world, and they're basically leaving us with this chaos and all these tatters, like everything strewn in just complete chaos, and we need to clean that up. Like, they've just left us with this horrible inheritance right now, and I mean, we need to clean that up. But I think at this point that so many people of this generation, I mean, just looking around, I know that I go to a very liberal university, but it's still just looking around and meeting different people who are optimistic, who want to go out and want to change things, and just have learned so much from being at college or being here, and just have learned so much from interacting with different people of different cultures and different faiths and just people from all over the country. I think that fills me with a certain sort of, it fills me with optimism. And I feel that we're going to be the generation who knows that we can't keep on repeating the mistakes that have happened before us. And we need to deal with each other as human beings. We need to start cooperating, because if we don't, there is going to be no future. But I truly am optimistic about what's going to happen, because I think that we all know that, and we're going to do it.